Algeria remained constrained by the Libyan issue due to the constitutional restrictions that prevented the Algerian army from interfering outside the national borders. It seems that the Algerian decision-maker today realized the need for Algeria to have its word inside the eastern neighbor, and Libyan fire spread on the outskirts of its borders. So he deliberately proposed a constitutional amendment to societal debate, among the most prominent of its new provisions, which allowed for the first time to send units of the Algerian army to abroad. This Algerian feeling of constitutional restrictions was reinforced by a greater sense of injustice, and the Libyan lands, which are closely related to Algeria, turned into a deep historical ground for the mercenaries of the world, and for international and regional interventions, especially from Arab countries that are not the size of Algeria and away from Libya thousands of kilometers, but its word has become audible. While Algeria, the regional power and neighbor that preserves the best of the Libyan people, during the glorious revolution of Algeria against colonialism, has remained almost out of calculation, despite its recent diplomatic return, after the election of President Abdelmajid Tebboune, and its participation on January 20 in the Berlin Conference on the Situation Libyan. This approach, which broke an old and very old Algerian rule that says non-interference in the internal affairs of states, comes in the wake of strategic geographic shifts at the level of the Algerian Ocean, where the complex Libyan situation and danger alone did not convince the Algerian decision-maker of the need to change the concept of national security. There are other variables, perhaps most notably the increase in the number of foreign military bases, especially American, French and even Emirati, outside the borders with neighboring countries, and the complexities of the situation in Mali, which were one of the direct reasons for abandoning Algeria in its pivotal role there, in favor of French intervention, due to the unconstitutionality of sending troops Algerians outside the border. After the Haftarians' attack on the capital, Tripoli, intensified at the beginning of 2020, he clearly stated that Tripoli is a red line that we hope will not be crossed, until the sarcastic comments from inside Algeria before him came from outside, and with what force will prevent the new Algerian president, General Haftar, from destroying or invading Tripoli, which, according to many strategic experts in Algeria, is the first line of defense for the Algerian city of Ouargla, bordering the Libyan border, in the face of a counter-revolution regime led by the UAE and Saudi Arabia. Here, the Algerian decision-maker cared about the impossibility of continuing the state of Algerian paralysis towards the Libyan equation. It is true that Algeria possesses huge cards related to its strong relations with the Libyan tribes, and it is able to manage the file of alliances with these tribes, especially in the Libyan western region, but the absence of an operational force on the ground, whatever its form, can affect the course of the battles. The biggest obstacle to the phrase Tripoli Red Line becomes reality. It seems that the draft constitution, which included for the first time in the history of independent Algeria, the possibility of sending army units abroad, wanted to clearly answer all these concerns, and that the president's speech, which was in the form of a strongly worded warning to Haftar and his supporters from behind, would find its meaning in the document. Constitutional preparations are underway,